It's December 4th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with President Yoon Suk-yeol's cabinet reshuffle. President Yoon is set to shake up his cabinet as early as today, with up to 10 out of 19 ministers subject to replacement, including finance, land, and oceans. The reshuffle will come as a number of ministers are reportedly planning to run for parliament in next April's general elections. The Israeli military is about to expand its ground operations to the whole of the Gaza Strip following the collapse of a truce on Friday. It says its operations there against Hamas would be of no less strength than those carried out in the north. China has blocked the export of urea to South Korean companies. China is yet to explain the reason, while a joint meeting involving South Korean industry and foreign ministries is scheduled for today. We start with President Yoon Suk-yeol's cabinet reshuffle. Ministers of Finance, Land and Science are subject to change, and a new spokesperson has also been named over the weekend. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
The presidential office announced its new spokesperson on Sunday. Kim Soo-kyung, most recently presidential secretary for Unification Affairs, took up the vacancy created by former spokesperson Lee Do-won's promotion to senior secretary for public relations.
I will work hard to accurately deliver state affairs to the people without distortion.
She's not new to the media scene. She started her professional career as a reporter at one of the biggest newspapers in the country, the Donga-ilbo. After 4 years, she went to Stanford University to get a doctorate degree in sociology. She later researched North Korean human rights issues and worked at Korea University, the Ministry of Unification, and Hanshin University.
As someone with a career in journalism and various experiences, we expect her to be an excellent media communication partner.
The appointment comes after the top office changed all of the senior secretaries while creating a director of policy role last Thursday. Cho Sang-myung, presidential secretary for social integration, was also named as secretary for state affairs monitoring, while Choi Jae-hyuk will be the replacement in the role of secretary for public relations planning. And as soon as Monday, a round of new minister nominees will be announced. This is due to the upcoming general election next April, which will force those running to quit their current public office jobs by January 11th under the Public Official Election Act. As of now, at least 7 ministers are set to run for parliament, with the biggest name being Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Chu Kyung-ho, a 2-term lawmaker. The president's former senior secretary for economic affairs, Choi Sang-mok, is known to be nominated as the replacement. Other vacancies likely to be created include ministers for SMEs, infrastructure, and science. Justice Minister Han Dong-un is also being closely watched by the public as a key man in the Yoon administration and a close confidant to the president. He could make his debut in politics. In addition, Park Jin, the foreign affairs minister, is being watched as well. And with the career politicians running for parliament, the replacements are expected to be comprised of mostly scholars and experts in the fields. The change comes amid a parliamentary review of the 2024 budget, and this could delay some key minister changes with the legal deadline for the review already passed last Friday. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
South Korea's National Security Advisor Jo Tae-yong said South Korea's military will restore and enhance guard posts, or GPs, that were demolished in accordance with the September 19 military agreement with the North. Speaking in an interview with KBS on Sunday, Jo said the guard posts will now be equipped with cutting-edge scientific equipment, while saying Pyongyang guard posts merely housed weapons and troops. North Korea recently deployed forces and artillery to 11 guard posts that were either destroyed or withdrawn, prompting South Korea to announce corresponding measures in response. The Israeli military on Sunday conducted its 10,000th airstrike since the armed conflict began on October 7th. It says it's now expanded the ground operations against Hamas to every part of Gaza. Lee Seung-ja has the latest.
After 3 days of heavy airstrikes and ground offensives, the Israeli military is now pushing its way into southern Gaza. Speaking to soldiers on Sunday, the chief of the Israel Defense Forces, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, said the Israeli military fought strongly and thoroughly in the northern Gaza Strip and is now doing the same in southern Gaza. The Israeli military on Sunday issued evacuation orders for several districts of Khan Yunis, urging people to leave immediately. Israel believes that members of the Hamas leadership are hiding in the city, where many civilians have been fleeing to and finding shelter since the early stage of the armed conflict. Meanwhile, the IDF said Sunday that its troops have found more than 800 tunnel shafts in the Gaza Strip since the beginning of the ground offensive in October. It added that around 500 of them have already been destroyed, either by setting off large explosives inside or by sealing them. The military went on to say that many of the shafts were located in civilian areas, near or inside educational institutions, kindergartens, mosques, and playgrounds. The Israeli military also launched its 10,000th airstrike since October 7th on Sunday, with bombardment intensifying even more over the weekend after Israel and Hamas failed to reach a deal that would have released more hostages. Israel says more than 400 targets in northern Gaza have been struck since Friday, with Gaza's health ministry stating that at least 700 people have been killed in the renewed bombings, marking one of the highest daily death tolls recorded since the conflict began. As of Sunday, Gaza's health ministry estimates that more than 15,500 Palestinians have been killed since October, many of them women and children. 이승재, Arirang News.
Washington says it's investigating reports that a U.S. warship and some commercial vessels in the Red Sea came under a drone attack led by Yemen's Houthi rebels. According to a Pentagon statement on Sunday, it's aware of reports that the USS Carney and other vessels were attacked by drones in the Red Sea and will provide information as it becomes available. Now, no injuries or damage to the Carney and Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer were reported. Shortly after the Houthis announced, they targeted 2 Israeli commercial ships on Sunday with an armed drone and a naval missile. A Houthi spokesperson said the vessels were attacked after they rejected warnings from the group. And Israel's military said the ships had no connection to Israel. South Korea's military successfully communicated over the weekend with its first military reconnaissance satellite. Now, the launch comes not long after Pyongyang's own spy satellite launch last month. Our North Korean Affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil has more.
3, 2, 1, ignition.
The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket lifted off from California's Vandenberg Space Force Base on Saturday at 3:19 a.m. Korea Standard Time. It carried South Korea's first military reconnaissance satellite into space. South Korea's defense ministry said the satellite was placed in orbit and succeeded in communicating with a foreign ground station at 4:37 a.m. Korea time. And at 9:47 a.m., the satellite made communication with a South Korean ground station as well. The satellite will pass by the Korean peninsula twice a day and is expected to provide surveillance on North Korea. The defense officials added the South Korean military has secured a, quote, independent space surveillance and reconnaissance capability from the launch. We asked one of the top experts in aerospace engineering here in South Korea how Seoul's satellite is different from Pyongyang's.
We have a very good, improved satellite system, including the Earth observation payload camera system. So we can produce those very high resolution satellite system comparing to North Korean capability.
Defense Ministry officials said the South Korean satellite can identify objects less than 30 centimeters in size from an altitude of 400 to 600 kilometers. This is much better than Pyongyang's spy satellite, which reportedly has a limited resolution range of around 3 meters per pixel. But Professor Zhang warned that a single satellite won't nearly be enough to detect Pyongyang's nuclear threats in real time, which is why the South Korean military plans to launch more by 2025.
Korean military plans to launch 4 additional satellites that are implementing SAR payload system. SAR means SAR, which is representing synthetic aperture radar. Okay, that is able to take images in very high resolution without regard to day or night and any weather condition.
Professor Zhang added that South Korea may need to send many more satellites into space to detect Pyongyang's threats, giving us a glimpse of the need to prepare for space diplomacy. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Now, let's discuss more about South Korea's very first homegrown reconnaissance satellite. How effective will it be as a space guard against North Korean threats and provocations? Let's turn to Professor Kim Young-jin this morning. Welcome back.
Hello.
Professor Kim, South
Thank you very much for
Korea's...
having me.
Thanks for joining us. First homegrown spy satellite from South Korea that was launched from U.S. Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Now, it successfully entered the orbit and communicated with a ground station a little after an hour. Now, what will it be its mission from now on?
Yes, it was a very successful launching and one of the historical achievements in modern Korean history because the Republic of Korea didn't have such a capability and largely has depended on the U.S. satellite capabilities. From now, after some testing, checking its capability, the satellite will operate its mission to increase detect and informational capability in keeping peace and stability of the Korean Peninsula. This will help a three-axis defense system with a kill chain in detecting any provocation of a North Korean nuclear missile. This 4 to 5 project started in 2015 and finally started a successful first satellite and will continue with the 4 more satellite launching.
It is definitely a big step for South Korea in its global space race. Now, South Korea's defense ministry is confident that the spy satellite is one of the top 5 satellites in the world and that its capabilities are 10 times greater than the one that North Korea launched last month. Professor Kim, is that so? How does that work?
Yes, satellites of South Korea are much stronger and better than ones of North Korea. It's just not just better than North Korea, but it's just one of the top 5 level in the worldwide in terms of capability. It can detect a better quality of image like the 30 centimeter, while North Korean satellite is about only 3 meter, much less quality of image. So this is one of the best satellites in terms of capability, and this is possible because of the effort and advanced technology of the rock industry.
Right, and South Korea plans to launch 4 more synthetic aperture radar satellites by 2025. That's within less than a year. Now, more than a year. And those reconnaissance satellites will serve as a so-called eye for South Korea's kill chain preemptive strike system. Right now, will they be able to detect and completely defend the country from North Korean missile attacks and even nuclear provocations? What do you think?
Yes, this is a much better capability in defending ourselves against North Korea nuclear missile threat. Yes, the ROC plan to launch 4 more satellites by mid-2020. If the ROC has a total of 5 satellites by then, they can watch and detect every 2 hours of North Korea. The ROC Army plans to launch 30 small satellites as well, and then they can watch North Korea in every 30 minutes. This is a key capability for 3-axis defense system against North Korean nuclear missile possible provocation and threat, including kill chain, KAMD, and KMPR.
Definitely. And the North state media reported over the weekend on Sunday that the office in charge of operating the regime's military spy satellite has started its so-called mission. Now, the North is really investing a lot in its space race, right?
Yeah, so a lot. Over the years, North Korea has invested in space race to have a satellite, and recently Russia finally support enhancing North Korean satellite capability. Having state satellite capability is not only for enhancing detecting informational capability to North Korea, but also for developing re-entry technology of North Korea ICBM missile against the U.S. continent. That is why North Korea had to try to have a satellite technology even with the Russian support. And this will be very dangerous situation if North Korea has a better quality of the satellite capability than the Iraq and U.S.
Sure, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said himself that the North will launch another reconnaissance satellite next year. Now, the question is how much technological development the North will be able to achieve in that time period. What's your take on this?
Yes, it depends on largely how much Russia supports North Korea because North Korea has their own technology. But recently, Russia and North Korea President Summit and Russia support North Korea regarding satellite capability, very dangerous movement, very speed up. So because of Russia's support, North Korea's first satellite was successful, and although its capability has not proven yet because of no evidence and no data, but anyway, Russia helped a lot to North Korea. Nonetheless, this space race is a very dangerous situation. In particular, North Korea satellite with the nuclear and missile are not great for the defense of Iraq and Japan and the U.S. So satellite of the Iraq without nuclear are mainly a defense purpose, but the North Korean satellite with the nuclear are very dangerous scenario for this region, not just Korean Peninsula. So the Iraq and the U.S., Japan have to stop Russia's support to North Korea regarding satellite by diplomatic effort. At the same time, we have to prepare for any kinds of North Korea dangerous provocation by military means.
Definitely. All right. Thanks so much for your insight. As always, Professor Kim, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
China has halted customs procedures for urea exports to South Korea, sparking concerns of a repeat of the logistics disruption which took place 2 years ago. According to a Yonhap news agency citing government sources, Beijing export block is likely due to domestic supply and demand, not export control. The South Korean government plans to hold meetings with related ministries on Monday, following on from discussions last week. According to the Finance Ministry, South Korea currently has enough urea inventory for about 3 months. Back in 2021, Seoul faced major urea solution logistics disruption after export restrictions by Beijing. Now, Beijing's customs authorities have yet to respond to the South Korean government's inquiry over export disruption reasons. Last Monday, November 27th, marked exactly 20 years since Pororo, the main character from the hit Korean animation Pororo the Little Penguin, first aired on TV. Experts are saying this penguin character has paved the way for Korean animation on the global stage. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin has the Pororo story.
It's been 20 years since Pororo, the little penguin, started his adventure with his friends Eddie the fox, Lupi the beaver, Pobi the polar bear, and Kurong the dinosaur. It all started with Pororo's father, the creator Choi Jong-il, who had a vision of making an animation for toddlers.
As Korea entered the animation scene a bit later, I believe that focusing on content for toddlers would be a way to compete with the powerhouse, that is Japan. Choosing animals over humans as the main characters helped sidestep potential cultural barriers when targeting the international market. We specifically went with penguins, an animal loved by children, yet not extensively showcased in animations.
Choi's strategy turned out to be successful. The animation was exported to France the same year it was released, hitting a 47% viewer rating on the French channel TF1. So far, it's been exported to over 180 countries. However, these numbers are not all that Pororo has achieved. It opened a new chapter for Korean animations. Before Pororo, Korean animators were primarily subcontracted by production companies in the US and Japan. But Pororo was made entirely by Korean animators, from character development and plot creation.
In the content industry, one mega hit is crucial for a country to become globally competitive. That was Pororo. Its success comes from tapping into the niche market of toddlers. which was traditionally viewed as less lucrative, even in animation powerhouses like the United States and Japan.
After Pororo came Korean originals like Ping Fong's Baby Shark, Laba, Kokomong, and Tayo, the Little Bus, thanks to increased investment. Their global success transformed Korea's animation landscape from a subcontractor to exporter. Despite these strides, the Korean animation market remains largely unexplored due to a heavy focus on marketable kids' content.
Korea could shift its focus to webtoons, as successful cases of turning webtoons into animations in the past will make it easier to attract investment. The combination of a well-loved webtoon and Korea's advanced animation technology means there's the potential to start a fresh wave of success.
This could elevate Korean animations to being a major cultural export item like K-pop and K-dramas. 송유진, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong. We now turn over to stories from around the world. We begin today in the Philippines, where at least 4 people have been killed and dozens injured in an explosion at a Catholic mass in the country's southern city of Marawi on Sunday morning. The Islamic State militants have claimed responsibility for the attack. The bombing took place in the gymnasium of Mindanao State University, where the service was taking place. Authorities say the attack could be a response by the Daulah Islamiyah Maute group following a series of military operations against them by the Filipino military, including action which killed the group's leader on the same day. In 2017, Islamic State-linked Maute seized the city of Marawi, which has the largest Muslim population in the Philippines. What followed was a 5-month battle in which some 1,000 people died, including civilians. Now moving over to Paris, where on Saturday night a man was killed and 2 others were injured in a knife and hammer attack on a street close to the Eiffel Tower. The suspect, a 26-year-old French man, was arrested later the same night. And on Sunday, an anti-terrorism prosecutor said that the suspect was found to have pledged allegiance to the Islamic State. Named as Armand R. and of being of Iranian descent in the French media, the suspect had previously posted a video expressing his support for the jihadist group. He had also served a 4-year prison sentence for planning an attack before being released in 2020. The victim who died was a German tourist, while a French and British national received non-life-threatening injuries. In business news, Alaska Airlines announced on Sunday that it would acquire Hawaiian Air for $1.9 billion. Alaska Air Group is set to pay $18 per share in cash in an acquisition deal for Hawaiian Holdings, the parent company of Hawaiian Airlines. The deal includes Hawaiian Airlines debt. Both companies agreed on a deal by Sunday. However, it still needs approval of U.S. regulators as well as the shareholders of Hawaiian Holdings. Hawaiian Air has struggled recently due to the Maui wildfires as well as jet engine recall issues. The deal is expected to close in 12 to 18 months, but it could still face a potential challenge by U.S. antitrust enforcers, which have recently taken JetBlue's acquisition of Spirit Airlines to court. Lastly, moving over to Europe, Germany's second busiest airport, Munich International Airport, suffered major disruptions over the weekend due to heavy snowfall, but has resumed its operations from 6 a.m. local time on Sunday. Southern Germany has been hit with heavy snowfall from Friday through to Saturday, affecting a total of 760 flights until Sunday morning, as well as rail traffic in the region. More than 40 centimeters of snow fell, unexpected for the early winter season in the state of Bavaria. While limited flights have resumed, Munich's main railway station remained closed on Sunday morning, along with the majority of the city's public transport.
Good morning. After a freezing start, we can expect much bearable afternoon temperatures. Then it will be even warmer for the rest of the week. But it's always better to dress a bit warmer than to be shivering in the cold. East Coast regions have been under a dry weather advisory for a few days now, and especially those in the east of Gangwon-do have seen a dry advisory for more than 2 weeks now. So please be careful with any activities that may cause a wildfire this season. Afternoon highs will be 1 to 3 degrees higher in most places. Seoul topping out at 8 degrees. Daejeon and Gwangju see a high of 10 degrees this afternoon. Sunnier skies will be joined by more clouds as the day goes on. Meanwhile, Incheon and Sejong could see dust levels rising during the first half of the day, but the rest of the country will have decent air quality all day today. Nationwide rain is in the forecast across Korea on Wednesday, but rain could turn into snow in mountainous regions. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Tuesday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.